Kiravash watched Earth grow larger through her ship's window. The blue planet filled her view as her damaged spacecraft broke through the upper atmosphere. Warning lights flashed all around her. The ship would not last much longer. She needed to land soon. At 10 feet tall with bright purple skin, Kiravash was unusual even among her own people, the Zilarians. Her kind were all tall and strong, but she stood above the rest. This difference had made her life hard. Other Zilarians called her names, said she was strange, wrong, and ugly. They pushed her away and made her feel like a monster. Smoke filled the cockpit as more systems failed. Kiravash gripped the controls with her four-fingered hands. She aimed for a dark patch on the planet, a forest far from human cities. The ship shook violently. Treetops rushed up to meet her. With a deafening crash, the ship tore through the forest, cutting a long path through the trees before hitting a large rock and stopping. For a long moment, Kiravash sat still, checking if she was hurt. Besides some cuts and bruises, she seemed fine. The same could not be said for her ship. Looking through the cracked window, she saw parts scattered across the forest floor. The engine made strange clicking sounds as it cooled. This ship would not fly again without major repairs. Kiravash gathered her few belongings. Most important was a small device that held secret information about the Drakari, the enemies of her people. The Drakari were coming to this solar system. They would harm the humans if no one stopped them. Kiravash had run from a Drakari attack when her ship was damaged. Now she was stuck here. She put on her armor, which shimmered and changed colors slightly to match the dark forest. The door of her ship was jammed. Kiravash had to kick it open. The metal gave way with a loud groan. Fresh earth air rushed in, filled with new smells, pine trees, dirt, and the clean scent of a nearby stream. Kiravash stepped out. The forest floor crunched under her heavy boots. She stood still and listened. Insects chirped. An owl hooted somewhere far away. Small animals rustled in the bushes but quickly went quiet when they sensed her presence. The night was peaceful, but Kiravash felt anything but calm. She was alone on a strange planet. Her people did not know where she was. The Drakari might still be looking for her. And the humans. What would they do if they found her? She had studied them from afar. They were small compared to her, but there were many of them. Some were kind, but many feared what they did not understand. How would they react to a 10-foot purple alien in their forest? Kiravash circled her ship, assessing the damage. Main power core was still working, but the engines were destroyed. The communication system was damaged beyond repair. She could not call for help. She was truly alone. She climbed to the top of a nearby hill to get a better view. In the distance, she saw a small light, a human dwelling perhaps. Should she approach? Ask for help? No, that would be too risky. Better to hide, at least for now. Kiravash returned to her ship and took out emergency supplies. She set up a small camp near the crash site, hidden among the trees. From her pack, she took out a water purifier and filled it from the stream. The device hummed softly as it cleaned the water, making it safe for her to drink. As she sipped the cool water, Kiravash thought about her home world, the tall spires of crystal cities, the double moons that lit up the night sky, the training, fields where she had learned to fight. She had been the best warrior in her unit, but that hadn't mattered. Her unusual height and bright color had marked her as different. Even her commander, who praised her fighting skills, kept her away from important missions. Now here she was, on the third planet of a yellow star, far from the war that raged across the galaxy. The Zilarians and the Drakari had fought for 1,000 years. Millions had died. And for what? Territory? Resources? Old grudges that should have been forgotten long ago? Kiravash shook her head. Such thoughts were dangerous. She was a warrior. She followed orders. She fought for her people, even when they rejected her. That was her duty. The night grew colder. Kiravash wrapped herself in a thermal blanket. She would need to find better shelter soon. The Earth weather was mild compared to her homeworld, but still uncomfortable. She would also need food. Her Emergency rations would last only a few days. Sleep did not come easily. Every sound made her reach for her weapon, a short energy blade that hummed with power when activated. What if the Drakari had followed her? What if human authorities had detected her crash? What if forest predators found her camp? Finally, exhaustion won out. Kiravash fell into a troubled sleep. She dreamed of battles and chases, of Drakari soldiers with their red eyes and sharp teeth, of her own people turning their backs on her, of being lost among the stars with no way home. She woke with the first light of dawn. Birds sang in the trees. Dew covered her blanket and the grass around her. The earth sun rose, painting the sky in colors that reminded her of home. For a moment, Kiravash felt a strange peace. Perhaps this planet could be a new start, a place where no one knew her as the strange one, the misfit, the monster. But first, she needed to survive. She needed to repair her ship or find another way to warn her people about the Drakari threat. She needed to stay hidden from humans who might fear her. Kiravash packed up her camp and concealed her ship with branches and leaves. She would explore this forest, learn its ways, find what she needed. She was a warrior. She would adapt and survive. As she moved through the trees, Kiravash did not know that she had already been seen. Human eyes had watched the streak of light as her ship fell from the sky. Human ears had heard the crash. Human feet were already walking toward the impact site. Soon, Kiravash would face her greatest fear, first contact with a human being who might see her only as a monster. Little did she know that this encounter would change everything. Diane Calloway sat on her cabin porch sipping hot coffee as the sun rose. Last night she had seen something strange, a bright light cutting across the sky, followed by a distant crash. After 2 tours in the military as an engineer, Diane knew the difference between a meteor and something man-made. This was neither. Something about the light's movement felt wrong, controlled but failing. As the forest ranger for this remote area, it was her job to investigate. Diane finished her coffee, packed her backpack with supplies, and grabbed her camera. She also took her old military compass and a small toolkit, habits from her past life that she never quite shook off. Diane lived alone in the ranger cabin, 3 miles from where she thought the object had crashed. She preferred the quiet company of trees to people. After seeing too much conflict overseas, the peaceful forest had become her sanctuary. Her cabin walls were lined with half-finished inventions, technical books, and certificates from engineering school. She followed her compass through the dense pine forest. Birds called overhead, and small animals scurried away as she passed. After an hour of hiking, Diane noticed broken tree branches high above. Something big had torn through here. The damage got worse as she continued. Then she saw it, a deep trench carved into the forest floor, leading to a large object wedged against a rock face. Diane approached slowly. This was no meteor or satellite. The object was clearly a craft of some kind, but unlike any aircraft she had ever seen. The metal surface shimmered with colors that shifted as she moved. There were no wings or visible engines, yet it was obviously built for flight. This was not human technology. Her heart raced. First contact. Real alien life. She raised her camera and took several photos. The craft appeared damaged, with parts scattered across the ground. Was anyone inside? Were they hurt? Diane stepped closer, her boots crunching on broken metal bits. A sudden vibration in the ground made her stop. Something was moving behind her, something big. Diane turned slowly, her military training kicking in. Stay calm. Assess the situation. Don't make sudden movements. What she saw made her breath catch. Standing before her was a figure unlike anything on Earth. Nearly twice her height, with bright purple skin that seemed to glow in the morning light. The being had a humanoid shape, 2 arms, 2 legs, 1 head, but the similarities ended there. Its face had elegant but alien features with silver-violet eyes that shifted color like liquid metal. 4-fingered hands ended in short, sharp points. It wore some kind of armor that changed colors slightly to match the forest background. Diane's mind raced. This was the pilot. Had to be. And judging by the protective stance near the crashed craft, it was alive and aware. Diane did the only thing that made sense. She slowly raised her empty hands to show she carried no weapons. "I'm not your enemy," she said, keeping her voice steady, despite her racing heart. The alien tilted its head, studying her. Then it made a series of clicks and whistles. A small device on its wrist lit up, and after a moment words came out, stilted and mechanical, but understandable. "Human female. No weapons. Why no fear?" Diane blinked, surprised at the translation technology. "I've seen enough in my life to know that different doesn't mean dangerous. Are you hurt? Your ship is damaged." The alien seemed confused by her response, as if expecting something else. No, she, Diane realized from the voice and build, looked down at Diane with those strange shifting eyes. "Not hurt badly. Ship beyond repair. You should run. Call your authorities." "I am monster to your kind." Diane shook her head. "You're not a monster. You're a visitor who had an accident. My name is Diane Calloway. I'm a forest ranger, but I used to be a military engineer. I might be able to help with your ship." The alien was silent for a long moment, then responded, "I am Kiravash, warrior of Zolarian people. You would help me?" "Yes," Diane said simply. "This crash site is in my jurisdiction. If I don't help you, who will?" Kiravash studied the small human female. On her world, people twice her size feared her. Yet this tiny human showed no terror, only curiosity and concern. It made no sense, but Kiravash felt something she rarely experienced: hope. "Ship needs parts not found on Earth. Power core intact but engines destroyed. Communication systems failed." Diane walked around the ship, examining the damage. "I'd need to understand how your technology works, but I'm good at improvising. We used to repair vehicles with whatever we could find in war zones." Kiravash watched as Diane confidently examined the alien craft. This human was strange. Not just her lack of fear, but her interest in helping. On Kiravash's world, strangers were potential enemies until proven otherwise. This human treated her like a person. Why help alien? Could be dangerous. Could hurt you. Diane looked up at the towering purple figure. "Could you?" "Yes. Will you?" "I don't think so. You seem more lost than dangerous. Besides, if you wanted to hurt me, you would have done it already." Kiravash felt something shift inside her. For her entire life, people had judged her by her appearance: too tall, too purple, too different. This human saw past that. It was unsettling. Pleasant, but unsettling. "Cannot stay an open. Humans will come. Will fear me." Diane nodded. "You're right about that. We need to hide your ship better and find you somewhere safe to stay while we figure this out. Can you help me cover the crash site?" Together, they gathered branches and foliage to better conceal the ship. Diane was amazed at Kiravash's strength. The alien could lift entire fallen trees with ease. They worked side by side, the 10-foot purple warrior and the 5'6" human ranger, an unlikely pair in the morning light. As they worked, Diane noticed more details about her alien companion. The scars that traced Kiravash's jawline and shoulders. The way her armor seemed almost alive, adjusting to movement and surroundings. The careful, precise way she handled things, as if always afraid of breaking them. "You said you're a warrior," Diane said, as they finished camouflaging the ship. "Are you at war?" Kiravash nodded grimly. "My people fight Drakari Imperium. 1,000-year war. I carry information about Drakari fleet. Was attacked. Escaped to this system. Ship damaged in fight. So there could be others looking for you? These Drakari?" "Yes. Dangerous. Would harm humans. Must warn my people." Diane wiped sweat from her forehead. "Then we really need to get your communication systems working again. Come with me to my cabin. It's isolated. No one will see you there. And I have tools we might use." Kiravash hesitated. "Your dwelling. Small for me." Diane laughed. "The ceiling's high enough, but you'll have to duck through the door. I'll make it work. I'm good at adapting. As they prepared to leave, Diane realized something important had just happened. She had met an alien being from another world, and her first instinct wasn't to report it or run away. It was to help. Perhaps the isolation of the forest ranger job had affected her more than she thought. Or perhaps after seeing so much conflict between humans, she was ready for something completely different. Kira Vosh gathered essential components from her ship. As they walked through the forest toward Diane's cabin, the alien warrior kept looking down at her human companion with wonder. No one had ever looked at her the way this human did, with interest rather than fear, with curiosity rather than disgust. It was a new feeling, and Kira Vosh wasn't sure what to do with it. What neither of them knew was that the crashed ship had sent out an automatic distress signal before it failed completely. Far above Earth, that signal was already being detected by others. The peace of the forest would not last long. 2 weeks passed since Kira Vosh crashed in the forest. The alien warrior and Diane worked together every day to repair the damaged ship. Diane's cabin became their workshop, with alien parts spread across her living room floor. Kira Vosh had to duck to enter doorways and sat on the floor instead of furniture. Still, they made it work. The first few days were hard. Kira Vosh's translator device helped with basic communication, but technical terms often got lost. Diane created a simple system of drawings and hand signals to fill the gaps. They would point, sketch, nod, and sometimes laugh at the confusion. It was strange how universal some expressions were, even between different species. "This part connects to power core?" Diane asked, holding up a curved piece of metal with glowing blue lines running through it. Kira Vosh shook her head. "Not power, communication array, sends messages across stars." Diane placed the component carefully on her workbench. "This is what we need to fix first. If your people are fighting a war, they need to know about the Drakari fleet you discovered." The alien's silver-violet eyes seemed to dim. "My people may not listen. I am different, too tall. Wrong color, they call me defective." Diane looked up at the 10-foot warrior, surprised. "Your own people treat you badly because you're tall and purple? That's ridiculous. Solarians value uniformity in warriors. I stand out. Cannot hide. Always. Seen as strange." Diane returned to her work connecting wires to the alien component. "Well, that's their loss. From what I can see, you're an excellent warrior and engineer. Sometimes people fear what's different just because it's easier than understanding it." Kira Vosh watched the small human work. Diane's hands moved with skill and care. She had adapted quickly to alien technology, finding Earth materials that could substitute for damaged parts. Kira Vosh had never met anyone so adaptable. "Why do you not fear me?" Kira Vosh asked suddenly. "I am twice your size. Could hurt you, easily." Diane smiled without looking up from her work. "I've seen enough real monsters in my life to know you're not one. They don't usually worry about being frightening." As days passed, they fell into a routine. Mornings were spent gathering materials from the crash site. Afternoons were for repairs and adaptations. Evenings were for rest and talk. Diane taught Kira Vosh about Earth, its history, cultures, and conflicts. Kira Vosh shared stories of distant worlds and ancient star systems. One night, as they sat on Diane's porch looking at the stars, Kira Vosh pointed to a faint purple dot in the sky. "My home world. Third planet of double star system. Too far to see clearly with human eyes." Diane squinted at the tiny speck of light. "What's it like there? Crystal cities that change color with sunlight. Oceans that glow at night. Flying creatures big as your trees." Kira Vosh paused. "Beautiful place, but not always kind place." "Earth is similar in that way," Diane said softly. "Beautiful, but sometimes cruel." They sat in comfortable silence. The forest sounds surrounded them. Crickets chirping, owls calling, leaves rustling in the gentle breeze. After a while, Kira Vosh spoke again. "In 2 days, communication array will work. Can send message to a Zolarian fleet, and then what happens?" Diane asked. "They come take me home. Use information about Drakari to plan defense." "Will you tell them about Earth?" About humans? Kiravash looked down at her human friend. Must tell. Drakari know of Earth now. May come here. Humans need protection. Diane nodded slowly. I understand. I just hope your people are kinder to us than they were to you. The next day they made their final repairs. The communication array was almost ready. They needed one last component from the crash site. As they hiked through the forest, Diane noticed Kiravash seemed more alert than usual, constantly scanning their surroundings. Something wrong? Diane asked. Feel watched. Not sure why. They reached the hidden ship and collected the parts they needed. As they prepared to leave, a branch snapped nearby. Both froze. Kiravash pushed Diane behind her and drew her energy blade, which hummed to life with a soft blue glow. Someone there, Kiravash whispered. A figure stepped out from behind a tree. A human man in hiking clothes, camera in hand. His eyes widened at the sight of the 10-foot purple alien holding a glowing weapon. He stumbled backward, dropped his camera and ran. He saw me, Kiravash said, her voice tight with worry. We need to hurry, Diane replied. Once he tells people what he saw, they'll come looking. They rushed back to the cabin, moving as fast as they could through the dense forest. Kiravash could have moved much faster alone, but she stayed with Diane, sometimes helping her over fallen logs or up steep slopes. At the cabin, they immediately set to work on the final repairs. Diane's hands moved quickly, connecting the last components to the communication array. Kiravash prepared the message that would be sent to her people. We'll send coordinates. Warning about Drakari. Request for extraction. Diane paused in her work. Extraction. That means you'll leave. Kiravash nodded. Must return. Duty to my people. Something in Diane's chest tightened. She had grown used to the alien's presence, the quiet conversations, the shared work. For the first time in years, she hadn't felt alone. I understand, she said, returning to her task. Duty comes first. As night fell, they completed the repairs. The communication array hummed with power, ready to send its message across the stars. They placed it outside, aimed at the night sky. Will. Activate now, Kiravash said. Signal takes time to reach fleet. Hours, perhaps days. She pressed a sequence of symbols on the device. It glowed brightly, then sent a beam of light upward into the night sky. The message was on its way. They went, back inside. The wait had begun. Neither spoke much that evening. Diane made dinner, simple earth food that Kiravash had grown to enjoy. They ate in silence, both aware that their time together was coming to an end. Finally, Diane spoke. What will happen to you when you return? Will they still treat you as an outsider? Kiravash considered this. Information I carry as valuable may earn respect, but she touched her purple skin, a shade brighter than normal for her kind. This does not change. Will always be different. Different isn't bad, Diane said firmly. In fact, your differences might be strengths they don't recognize yet. Kiravash looked at her human friend with those strange, shifting eyes. Humans, strange, see beauty where others see wrong. Is that what I do? Diane asked. See beauty in you? You first person ever to look at me without fear or disgust. First to see out me, not just tall purple monster. Diane smiled sadly. Well, maybe that says more about them than about you. They stayed up late, sharing more stories of their worlds. Kiravash described nebulae that sang and planets with rings of ice crystals. Diane told tales of Earth's oceans and mountains, of cities and remote villages. As they talked, something changed in the way Kiravash looked at Diane. There was a softness there that hadn't been present before. The warrior was seeing the human in a new light, not just as a helpful native of this world, but as someone who had done what no one else had ever done, looked past her frightening exterior to see the person within. What neither of them knew was that the communication signal had been detected not just by the Zilarian fleet, but by others as well. The message, traveling through space, had been intercepted. The coordinates of Earth were now known to the Drakari Imperium. As Diane and Kiravosh shared their quiet evening, forces were already moving in the darkness above. The peace they had found would soon be tested in ways neither could imagine. War was coming to Earth, and they stood at its center. Morning came with a knock at Diane's door. She and Kiravosh exchanged worried glances. The alien warrior quickly moved to the back room, her heavy footsteps surprisingly quiet. Diane opened the door to find her supervisor, Sam Wilson, standing there with two other rangers and a man in a suit. "Morning, Diane," Sam said, looking uncomfortable. "This is Agent Miller from the government. There have been reports of unusual activity in your area." Agent Miller stepped forward. "Ms. Calloway, we received information about a possible meteorite crash. Then a hiker reported seeing something, not human. Would you know anything about that?" Diane kept her face neutral. 2 years in combat zones had taught her how to lie convincingly. "I saw something fall from the sky about 2 weeks ago. Checked it out, but just found some burned rocks. Probably a meteor that broke up. As for something not human," she laughed. "People see all sorts of things in these woods when they're scared." Agent Miller didn't smile. "Mind if we take a look around your cabin?" "Do you have a warrant?" Diane asked. "No, but I can get one if necessary." Diane considered her options. Refusing would only make them more suspicious. "Fine, but make it quick. I have work to do." The men entered her cabin. Diane's heart raced as they moved through the small space. The back room where Kiravosh hid had a window. Had the alien escaped into the forest? Or was she still hiding, ready to be discovered? As Agent Miller approached the back room, a loud crackle of radio static made everyone jump. "All units, we have multiple aerial contacts approaching fast from the upper atmosphere. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Agent Miller pulled out his own radio. "Miller here, what's happening?" "Sir, NORAD is tracking at least 20 objects entering Earth's atmosphere. They're slowing down. These aren't meteors. They're ships." Everyone froze. Agent Miller forgot about the search and rushed outside, followed by the Rangers. Diane went with them, trying to appear appropriately confused and concerned. In the clear morning sky they could see them, bright streaks of light descending from above. Some were blue-white, others red-orange. 2 different types of craft, Diane realized. The Zalarian ships responding to Kiravosh's message, and something else. The Drakari had found Earth. "Get back to base," Agent Miller ordered the Rangers. He turned to Diane. "Ms. Calloway, I suggest you come with us. Whatever's happening, it's not safe here." "I'll stay," Diane said firmly. "This is my post. I don't abandon it." After a brief argument, they left her, too busy with the larger crisis to worry about one stubborn forest ranger. As soon as their vehicles disappeared down the road, Kiravosh emerged from the trees behind the cabin. "You did not leave Forest," Diane said, relieved. "Could not leave you," Kiravosh replied. "Ships are here, my people, but also Drakari. They must have intercepted message." "What will they do?" Diane asked. "Drakari see new worlds as resources to take. Humans would be slaves or food. Must stop them." Diane looked up at the lights in the sky, which were spreading out, moving toward different parts of the planet. "How do we stop an alien invasion?" Kiravosh's face hardened with resolve. "My ship, not completely destroyed. Power core still works. Could use as weapon." "A bomb? You want to make a bomb from your ship's power core?" "Yes. Detonate near Drakari. Command ship. Disrupt their network. Give my people advantage in battle." "That's suicide," Diane protested. "You'd never survive getting close enough." Kiravosh looked down at her human friend. "Sometimes warrior must sacrifice for greater good." Diane shook her head firmly. "No, there must be another way. You said Zalarian ships are here too. Can't we contact them? Get help?" "Possible. Ships, emergency beacon might reach them, but Drakari will detect signal too." "Then we'll have to be quick. Let's go." They raced through the forest toward the crash site. Above them, the sky was filling with more lights as the alien ships spread across. Earth's atmosphere. In the distance, they heard explosions. The battle had already begun. At the crash site, they uncovered Kiravosh's ship and entered through the damaged hull. Diane helped the alien warrior activate the emergency beacon. A bright pulse of blue light shot upward from the ship. "Signal sent," Kiravosh said. "Now we wait." They didn't wait long. Within minutes, 3 small craft descended from the sky, landing in the clearing near the crashed ship. Tall figures emerged. Aliens similar to Kiravosh but with more uniform heights and coloring. They wore sleek armor and carried energy weapons. Kiravosh stepped forward to meet them. The leader of the group stopped, staring at her with obvious surprise. "Warrior Kiravosh, you survived. Your signal contained vital information about Drakari fleet. High Command thought it might be trap." "Not trap," Kiravosh replied. "Truth. Drakari plan major offensive. Earth is target." The leader noticed. Diane standing slightly behind Kiravosh. "You allied with humans?" "This human helped repair ship. Send message. Without her, warning never reached fleet." The leader studied Diane with an unreadable expression. "Interesting. High Command will want to meet this human." Another explosion. Closer this time, shook the ground. The Zalarian leader turned toward the sound. "Drakari dropships landed 20 miles south. Ground forces deploying. Our ships engaged their fleet in orbit, but some got through." "What is plan?" Kiravosh asked. "Destroy Drakari command ship. Cut off ground forces from orders. But their defenses, too strong. Cannot get close enough." Diane stepped forward. "What if you had a way to disrupt their defenses? Just for a few minutes?" The leader looked down at her with surprise. "Human has strategy? Maybe. Kiravosh, your ship's power core, you said it could be used as a weapon. What if instead of destroying it, we modify it to create an electromagnetic pulse? It wouldn't destroy the Drakari ship, but it might disable their shields temporarily." Kiravosh considered this. "Possible. Need to reconfigure containment field. Release energy as wave, not explosion." The Zalarian leader seemed skeptical. "How would you deliver this weapon? Drakari will shoot down any approaching craft." "You wouldn't deliver it," Diane said. "They would." She quickly explained her plan. Using parts from Kiravosh's ship, they would build a small, seemingly harmless probe. The Drakari would detect it but might ignore it as debris or a failed weapon. Once it got close enough to their command ship, they would remotely trigger the modified power core, creating an EMP that would temporarily disable the Drakari shields. In that brief window, the Zalarian fleet could strike. The leader considered the plan. "Risky but possible, we have no better option." They set to work immediately. Diane and Kiravosh, now familiar with each other's methods, moved in perfect sync. The other Zalarians assisted, clearly impressed by how well the small human worked with their technology. As they worked, more explosions sounded in the distance. Reports came in over the Zalarians' communication devices. Drakari forces had landed in major cities. Human military was engaging but outmatched by alien technology. Casualties were mounting. Diane worked faster, her hands steady despite the use pressure. Kiravosh stayed by her side, passing tools and components before Diane even asked for them. They had developed an unspoken language over the past 2 weeks, a rhythm of work that transcended their differences. Finally, the device was ready. A small probe containing the modified power core from Kiravosh's ship. It looked harmless, almost like space junk. The Zalarian leader took it carefully. "We will launch from our ship. Position it near Drakari command vessel. When in position, we send signal to activate." "How long until it's in position?" Diane asked. 1 hour, perhaps less. Kiravosh turned to Diane. "You should go to safety now. Government bunkers protect humans from battle." Diane shook her head. "I'm staying with you. I helped build that device. I want to see this through." The Zalarian leader interrupted. "Both come. Safer on our ship than here. Drakari ground forces approaching this area." They boarded one of the small Zalarian vessels. As it rose into the air, Diane got her first view of the battle. Lights flashed across the sky as alien ships engaged each other in Earth's atmosphere. Below, fires burned in several towns. Military vehicles moved along highways. It was chaos. The small ship docked with a larger Zellarian vessel hovering high above the forest. Inside, more aliens like Kiravash moved with purpose through sleek corridors. Many stopped to stare at the small human in their midst, but none commented. They were led to the bridge where officers monitored the battle. Screens showed the conflict from various angles. In the center of the largest display was a massive red ship, the Drakari command vessel. Probe launched, an officer reported. Approaching Drakari command ship. Estimated time to optimal position, 45 minutes. Diane watched anxiously as a tiny dot on the screen moved slowly toward the huge red ship. Their plan was in motion. Now all they could do was wait, and hope the Drakari didn't notice the small probe until it was too late. On the bridge of the Zellarian ship, tension grew as the small probe moved closer to the massive Drakari command vessel. Diane stood beside Kiravash, watching the main screen. The Zellarian officers spoke in quick, hushed tones, occasionally glancing at the human in their midst. 30 minutes to optimal position, an officer reported. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the bridge. The main screen showed new movement. 3 Drakari fighter ships breaking away from the main fleet heading directly toward them. "They've detected us," the Zellarian commander said. "Prepare for combat." The ship shuddered as it moved into a defensive position. Weapon systems came online. Kiravash stepped forward. "Let me fight. I am warrior. Can pilot fighter craft. Frio." Commander hesitated, looking at the unusually tall purple Zellarian. Old prejudices warred with desperate need. Finally he nodded. "Go. Take third fighter in launch bay." Kiravash turned to Diane. For a moment the two looked at each other, both aware this might be their last meeting. "Stay safe," Kiravash said softly. "You showed me I am not monster. Whatever happens, I thank you for that." Before Diane could respond, Kiravash was gone, moving quickly through the ship's corridors toward the launch bay. Diane turned back to the screen, watching as a small blue fighter launched from their ship. Kiravash was now part of the battle. 20 minutes to optimal probe position, the officer updated. The Zellarian ship rocked as enemy fire struck its shields. On the screen, Diane watched 3 blue fighters, one of them piloted by Kiravash, engage the Drakari ships. The alien vessels twisted and turned in space, energy weapons firing brilliant beams of light. Kiravash's fighter moved differently than the others. While the Zellarian pilots followed standard attack patterns, Kiravash flew unpredictably, using maneuvers the Drakari couldn't anticipate. Her fighter spun and rolled, evading enemy fire while landing precise hits on the Drakari ships. "Remarkable flying," the commander murmured. "Never seen such techniques." "She's always been different," Diane said. "That's her strength, not her weakness." On screen, one of the Drakari fighters exploded in a flash of red light. Kiravash's fighter flew through the debris, pursuing the second enemy ship. The third Zellarian fighter took heavy damage and retreated toward the main ship. 15 minutes. To optimal probe position, came the update. More alarms sounded. 5 additional Drakari ships had broken from their fleet, heading toward them. The commander ordered evasive maneuvers. The ship tilted sharply, throwing Diane against a wall. She steadied herself, eyes never leaving the screen where Kiravash's fighter now battled 2 Drakari ships alone. "We cannot hold position much longer," an officer warned. "Shields at 60%. "We must," the commander insisted. "If we move too far, we lose control of the probe." Diane watched as Kiravash destroyed the second Drakari fighter, but as she turned to engage the newcomers, her ship took a direct hit. Blue flames erupted from one wing. The fighter began to spin. "No!" Diane cried out, but the damaged fighter stabilized. Kiravash was still in control, though her ship now moved more slowly, trailing blue energy. 10 minutes to optimal probe position. The Zellarian ship shuddered again under heavy fire. Systems sparked on the bridge. The commander ordered all power to shields and probe control. Diane held onto a railing as the ship rocked violently. On a screen, Kiravosh's damaged fighter led 3 Drakari ships away from the main Zalarian vessel. She was drawing their fire, protecting the ship that controlled the probe. Despite her injured craft, she managed to destroy another Drakari fighter before taking another hit. She can't last much longer, Diane said, her voice tight with worry. 5 minutes to optimal probe position. The main Zalarian ship's shields were failing. More Drakari fighters approached. The commander ordered a desperate message sent to all Zalarian vessels in the area. They needed immediate support. Kiravosh's fighter, now badly damaged, turned suddenly and flew directly at the remaining Drakari ships. It was a suicide run. Diane watched, heart in her throat, as the small blue craft crashed into a Drakari fighter. Both exploded in a brilliant flash of light. "Kiravosh!" Diane cried out. The bridge fell silent. Even in the midst of battle, the Zalarians paused to witness the sacrifice of a warrior they had once rejected. 2 minutes to optimal probe position. The moment of silence ended as more Drakari fire struck the ship. Systems failed across the bridge. The commander reported shields at critical levels. Then new ships appeared on the screen, more Zalarian vessels responding to their distress call. They engaged the Drakari fighters, drawing fire away from the damaged command ship. Optimal position reached. Probe ready for activation. The commander gave the order. On screen, the tiny probe near the Drakari command ship began to glow. Energy built up around it, forming a bright blue sphere that expanded rapidly. When it touched the massive red ship, the Drakari vessel's shields flickered and died. Shields down. Targeting Drakari command systems. The Zalarian fleet concentrated fire on the now vulnerable command ship. Explosions bloomed across its surface. Systems failed. The massive vessel began to drift. Drakari fleet communications disrupted. Their ships are losing coordination. Across Earth's skies, the battle shifted. Without central command, the Drakari forces fell into disarray. The Zalarian fleet pressed their advantage, driving back the invaders. Diane barely registered the victory. Her eyes searched the debris field where Kiravosh's fighter had been destroyed. There was nothing left but scattered pieces of metal. Hours later, as Zalarian ships pursued the retreating Drakari fleet beyond the moon, Diane sat alone in a quiet room on the command ship. The door opened, and the commander entered. "Human, Diane Calloway, your plan succeeded. Drakari retreat from Earth system, your world is safe. Thank you," Diane said flatly. "And Kiravosh?" The commander hesitated. "Warrior Kiravosh died with great honor. Her name will be remembered among our greatest heroes." Diane nodded, fighting back tears. "She never thought she'd be accepted by your people. Too different, too tall, too purple. Those differences saved us today." Her unusual fighting style confused Drakari. Her willingness to sacrifice herself saved this ship and our mission. The commander paused. "Perhaps we were wrong to judge her for being different. She just wanted to belong," Diane said softly. "To be seen for who she was, not what she looked like." The commander moved to leave, then stopped. "There is something else. Before battle, Kiravosh recorded message. For you. I will send it to your viewing station." After the commander left, the small screen on the wall lit up. Kiravosh's face appeared, her silver-violet eyes shimmering with emotion. "Diane Calloway, if you see this, I have fallen in battle. Do not grieve. All warriors know death comes, but before I go to fight, I must say what I could not say before." The tall alien warrior paused, seeming to search for words. "All my life I felt like monster. Too tall. Wrong color. Different from others. I accepted this as truth. Then I crashed on Earth. Met you, small human who looked at me with no fear, who saw beauty where others saw only strangeness." Kiravosh's eyes softened. "You taught me important truth. Different is not wrong. Different can be beautiful. If I die today, I die knowing at least one being in universe saw me truly. Not as monster, not as defect, but as Kiravosh." Tears streamed down Diane's face as the message continued. I have requested that Zalarian High Command make you official ambassador to Earth. Your world joins Galactic community today. Needs voice who understands both humans and stars. No one better than you. Kiravash smiled, a rare expression for the usually serious warrior. Perhaps someday humans and Zalarians learn from each other. See beauty and difference as you taught me. That would be worthy legacy. The message ended. Diane sat in silence, tears falling freely now. 3 days later, as the Zalarian fleet prepared to leave Earth orbit, Diane stood on the bridge of the command ship. She now wore the formal attire of an Earth ambassador, appointed by emergency session of world governments. Still reeling from first contact, the commander approached her. Ships ready to depart. We will leave Defense Force in your system. Establish communication base on your moon. Begin formal relations with Earth. Thank you, Diane said. I'll work to ensure our peoples understand each other. It's what Kiravash would have wanted. Ambassador Calloway, the commander said, more hesitant than before. There is one more matter. During final sweep of battle area, recovery team found something. He gestured and the bridge doors opened. A tall figure entered, moving slowly, supported by 2 Zalarian medical officers. Diane's heart stopped. It couldn't be, but it was Kiravash, alive though badly injured. Her purple skin was darker in places with burns and healing wounds. One arm was in a support device, but those silver-violet eyes were unmistakable. Kiravash. Diane rushed forward, stopping just short of embracing the injured warrior, afraid of hurting her further. Diane Calloway, Kiravash said, her voice weak but warm. Seems I am difficult to kill. Escape pod ejected from fighter moments before collision, the commander explained. Drifted for hours before our ships found it. Warrior Kiravash was near death. Our healers worked 3 days to save her. Diane looked up at her alien friend, tears of joy replacing those of grief. You're coming back to Earth with me, right? As part of the Zalarian delegation?